Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review where the hosts of the What You Say Anime podcast nominate and vote on shows either we haven't seen or shows that hopefully lead to a great discussion. Today's episode, the LARPers of the What You Say Anime podcast will be reviewing the 1990 OVA record of Lodoss War. Since this show has a good amount of D&D influence, let's meet today's hosts and their ideal class and race that they would play in a D&D campaign. First up, we got Jay.
Yeah, so I was originally going to make a joke and say my ideal class is the proletariat, which is my honest answer. But if I was being forced to play D&D, I prefer other tabletop games personally.
Yeah, I'm just going to answer with a different one.
But yeah, well, if we're just able to answer any of them, then I'm going to say, yeah, my ideal one, there's this class in Heart, the City Below, where like its ultimate ability is you can murder a concept. Yeah, pretty cool.
That's cool.
Also, you're stalked by, you play two characters. One of them is your character, and the other one is the personification of your future death that is following you around.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wild.
Okay, well, I guess, Kat, you're up next. I know you DM a lot.
Good luck, Kat.
Yeah.
Top that one.
I'm normally DMing, so I don't normally get to talk about my my class race concept. But I actually just got done with a short campaign, and my ideal class race setup would be Hexblade Warlock and Mark of the Sentinel Human.
Damn. I don't know what that means, but sounds cool as shit.
It does sound very cool. I also don't know what it means.
Hexblades are dope. I don't know what the Mark of the Sentinel is. I assume they change humans.
Adds extra spells to the human class, human spell list, and you can actually use a reaction to switch your place with somebody else's place. As the guardian. It's really fucking cool.
You can boogie woogie.
I can boogie woogie, bro.
Nice. You guys are a bunch of fucking nerds. Miles, you're up next.
Yeah, so I guess I would pick the Archaeologist Bard from Pathfinder 1E, which is probably my favorite class. It has like a luck, instead of like Bardic Performance, it has like a Archaeologist luck, which gives only you a buff. Only I deserve that. And if I had to pick a race to be, I'd probably do Aasimar or something like that.
I listen to Aasimar all the time on YouTube.
Yeah, do you? Yeah. That tracks. But yeah, that's what I would do.
Right on. And Pat, I don't think you've ever played D&D before, so you're just the DM tonight.
Oh, there we go. I was gonna say, well, my class that I would pick is Engine Captain in Chicago Fire.
Chicago Fire, the tabletop RPG.
Because that what Squad does is cool and all, like, you know, lifting things and like helping rescue people from like precarious situations. I just want to use a fire hose, man. How sick would that be? And that's what Engine Captain does. So, fun fact about the Chicago Fire RPG, you have two stats, Chicago and fire. One measures how Chicago you are, the other one measures how fiery you are.
I min-max for Chicago, personally.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting my name is Joey Giardinera. I'm max Chicago, 0 fire.
There you go. Sorry, yeah.
Welcome. I was like, I could make like a Chicago joke, but like one person would get it. I'm not gonna make it. No.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm just over here drinking my Malort and enjoying myself. I know. Hello. Rough day for me today, but we're gonna have fun tonight. So let's talk about Record of Lodoss War, an OVA series made by Madhouse Faith. It's sourced from a light novel, and it's from the year 1990 and 1991 or so, aired between those years. Yeah, let's do our first impression. Miles, why don't you start us off?
The entire time, and I know this is the first impression, but the points are made up and nobody wins. So the entire time I was watching this show, there was only one question in my mind, and that was, is this show any good? And I don't think I've decided yet. Or I have, and it's not good, but also I don't care. That's That's where I ultimately think that
What a breakdown.
I I ended up on this. I liked the fact that we had like an actual high fantasy anime series. I think that the early 90s, late 80s aesthetic sort of really lends itself to that. So I thought this looked good. The plot is like very generic, but that's fine. The characters were enjoyable enough for me. I would recommend this, but also note nothing happens in this show. Like they do a lot of things, but also nothing happens. So watch this if you like cool elf ladies. That's it.
Oh, I thought there was gonna be more. Like no, okay, that's it.
I,
Okay,
I have
fair
to
enough.
cut off because it's the first impression. So
Fair. Kat, what about you? What did you think?
So this this show is the first couple of episodes I had to watch. It was really hard to get into it. It only really started getting fun when I started like switching my mindset from trying to look at this as an anime and instead trying to look at it almost like a D&D podcast, because there's it felt very D&D-esque, and I get that that's what the whole point of it is, but like it only really started getting fun when I was in that mindset, and I just stopped asking questions. I don't think that it's, from a critical perspective, I don't think it's great. But from a fun perspective of just like you can feel like people enjoying this campaign from behind the story. But there was a little bit of fun in there. Without getting into details though, would I recommend it? It depends. If you're an old head that loves like old style anime, absolutely. And if you haven't watched the show, absolutely, I'll shove this your way. But if you're a new anime person that's like used to the quality and the skills of like current day anime production, I probably wouldn't send it your way. So it's a mixed bag.
Okay, a mixed bag. Pete, what about you?
First 3 episodes, I actually really like this show. Like the aesthetic and how everything was sort of getting set up, I was kind of invested in it. I'm a big fan of like fantasy style shows. I love the aesthetic that it's set up with. Like this 90s style fantasy. There's not a whole lot of anime that I know of that has like this style of aesthetic. So I was really happy to be like, oh shit, this is gonna be a lot like Berserk, isn't it? Like Berserk 97. Like I'm getting into it. This is dope. And later on, it just kind of all fell apart. But my first 3 episodes, I did thoroughly enjoy. But would I recommend the show? Absolutely not. No chance. Maybe check out the 27 episode version and not the OVA, because I think one of my biggest complaints will be sort of like the lack of information that happened in this story. And I think that you could get that with more content. So I would say maybe try out that. But for this 13 episode OVA, nah, I wouldn't recommend it.
All right. Jay, what about you?
Okay. So there's some positives about this show. I think that, you know, with the limited budget they had for an OVA, they really went for, and you can tell this in the first 3 episodes, they really went for like every frame of it being a painting. It's really beautiful. It has a really solid soundtrack. I like the OP and the ED, provided you're not watching the English dub where they dub over the OP and ED, and it's pretty bad.
I
It's
like
really bad. It's
But
I didn't.
you can tell that this is based off of like a D&D campaign, and like the writing of it is very like kind of going along, like you can tell, as someone who's written stuff based around D&D campaigns, you can always tell. And it's, I don't know, it might turn off people who aren't into that sort of thing. I think that if you're a fan of like fantasy stuff in general, especially fantasy, you know, anime, of course, like you should probably peep this, because it is like sort of a slice of history. Like this was kind of the first time that anime ever even tried to do like a true Western setting with like goblins and elves and dwarves and stuff. And it's not an isekai, it's just a straight up fantasy. So I think it's worth watching just to get like a sense of like where some of the greats that we read or and watch come from now. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's no Frieren without this. There's no Delicious in Dungeon without this. Like it is that influential. Basically, this is more or less like Critical Role, but back in the gap, like 30 years, 40 years before Critical Role popped off. Kind of incredible when you think. So my recommendation would be like if you're somebody who's a big fan of fantasy stuff, watch it. If you're somebody who has an interest in anime history, watch it. But if you're somebody who's looking to watch like, something that is incredible in like every single way, like a masterpiece or whatever, then go watch something else because this definitely is not a masterpiece, unfortunately.
Jay said it there best. It's definitely not a masterpiece. For me, I was probably cranky watching the show, but I did not enjoy it very much. Like Jay said though, it is beautifully drawn. It is really, really well drawn. The fights though aren't that great, and the action and the movement isn't that great. I don't know. I think that I don't think I would ever recommend this to anyone other than maybe like what Jay and a couple of the other guys have said as well, where it's like if you're like super into fantasy and super into D&D, then maybe I'd recommend it to you. But even then, I don't know.
I don't think the animation's like that bad for 1991 though. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would agree
Like,
with that, honestly.
maybe I don't know. I guess I haven't watched enough from back then. It just felt very like static and again, I get it, part of the times, but
That's one of my main complaints as well. Honestly.
yeah, it exists. I kind of wish I didn't watch it because it didn't really do anything for me. We'll probably talk about it more later, but I would watch like each episode. It just felt like, okay, we're gonna set something up, then we're gonna cut to something else, and something else is gonna happen, and then cliffhanger for the next episode or a resolution that comes out of nowhere. There was like 4 things that would happen each episode that of importance, and the episodes were still like 20 minutes long. So like it just felt like there were a lot of scenes that were empty, a lot of context missing, almost negative world building as well in terms of like how the world works and the structure of the power systems and everything. That it just left me frustrated and being like,
I
why did
mean,
I
I don't
watch
think
this?
they really need to. They're not trying to explain the power systems more or less. Like it's not.
it's magic.
There
There is
it's,
magic.
yeah, it's not meant to be a deep power system where like Hunter x Hunter or Naruto or something where you don't need Slane to go into a 4-minute long inner dialogue about this is my clan's magic that has been passed down for generations and here's the whole history of it and why I use this in particular. It's like,
Yeah.
no, he's a wizard, he just does magic shit.
All right, cool. I just wish I knew when someone was getting shocked by purple lightning versus blue lightning, what that meant and why this guy could eat like an entire lightning bolt for 30 seconds and then someone else just dies from that. Yeah, it was very frustrating for me trying to like piece together. It's something, I guess it's very similar to my psychics complaint where it's like, it's hard to tell unless you know. It's hard to tell like who's winning in a fight. Does this really hurt them or are they just going into the
Blue
mud?
lightning is good and purple lightning is bad.
I would say that for like the lightning thing, like everything was pretty color coded. There was only one character who wears like all purple and stuff, Carla, which is a funny name. I like Carla as a fan.
There's a lot of funny names in this. I'll give
Like,
it that.
oh, you mean the god named Phallus?
Yeah.
And people saying,
That
"Behold
was
the might
amazing.
of Phallus."
Yeah, I mean that's so D&D code, right? Like the bad
Yeah.
guy's name is oh my god. I love
I
it.
mean,
It's so funny.
one of the
Yeah.
big bads in one of my D&D campaigns was just named Glorious because I asked somebody for a name for a big bad and they said Greg and I went, fuck it.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. I guess that's our opening thoughts. So I don't know. It seemed like we had some contests that we could talk about. Do we have any specific talking points we want to start out with though? Miles, did anyone send you anything or?
No.
I have one if nobody has anything.
Sure.
How did you guys feel about like the one thing like I love about like fantasy, especially when it's like a group setting, is sort of like the vibe within the group, like how they became the party themselves. To me, this felt like they were just like drafted into a team and it's like, here you go, go do your adventure. And like I felt like D-Lit was sort of like the one that like kind of I would say
I
like
kept saying that every time they would say her name.
I don't know if the was like she pulled people's personalities out of them a little bit because like she would like her and like Gim would like like they'd banter back and forth and whatever, and like I think they're just like racist towards each other's classes, and then D-Lit with like Pard and like flirting with him and stuff like that. But like I never got like a vibe with this party, and I think that like really killed my enjoyment. Did you guys have anything like that with this group, or did you guys like not feel that at all?
Oh yeah,
I felt that. You can go.
I felt like so. My issue with the way that the party was kind of formed is just how like it felt fairly cliche, except for like it felt like a bunch of different people, a bunch of different players of D&D with like different skill levels or different like experience levels were playing at the same time, and Deedlit was like the one that had been playing for the longest.
That's how you would do it back in the day.
Yeah, and okay, so it should be stated to what like about the origin of this, what this comes from. The characters in this are not all from the same games. These are characters that in the setting from multiple games coming. This is the Smash Bros of Lodoss.
Gotcha.
Like of the games in the setting.
If
like,
you play Magic the Gathering,
you know how Orson and the red-haired girl whose name I can't remember right now show up. Those are two characters from another game that show up, or Guts, aka Orson, and the other one.
Like he's a berserker.
If you've played Magic the Gathering, this setting is very similar to the setting of the Legend set from like 1994, which was just the designers' OC D&D campaign people that they made into Magic cards, right? So like this is that, but instead of being in Magic cards, they're in an anime.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. This is what every dungeon master wants to do with their setting. Yeah. I wouldn't say ever. A lot of them, though. A lot of them.
But I mean, it still doesn't take out of. It does still take that like that ragtag feel out of it. It doesn't really add a little bit of extra to it. It just feels like. It feels like they're just kind of going along, and their group is kind of held together by a silly string and an elf. So,
but I think that's how D&D goes, though. Like that's people when they come and play D&D a lot of the time, they're just like playing. You know, they have their own storyline they want to do. There's a main mission or whatever, but like, I'm not like, you know what I mean, though, Kat? Like, you have experience with this. Like, sometimes the characters aren't always going to be like related to each other and trying to do the same things. Like they'll have the main quest or whatever, but as far as your personal stuff goes, you can't have everybody be Parn and Ato where they know each other their whole lives or whatever.
Oh, absolutely. I don't want that. I just want there to be a little bit more like, you know, interaction or like, I don't know.
I want to be drunk at a bar or something and like that type of shit. But like I know what you're saying. Like where you're seeing this from like a D&D perspective, and like it makes sense. I feel like most people would just view this from like an anime perspective, and they don't see that.
Even from an anime perspective, though, per the plot of this, like it would be really weird to me if they were all friends or whatever, because you have
not friends, but if you're going on an adventure with people, like you usually like have some form of bonding of at least a little bit to like understand each other, but like it's never like really shown. I mean, it's shown through like the fights and stuff, but like that's how we get introduced to like Grimm's the dwarf axe battle master and Slain is the wizard and stuff like that. But like if you're having a group of people, you want to like have them have like some background and some interconnection when you're in a group setting. Otherwise,
there is background.
It's not enough. Like I felt like I never had the connection of the group. Where like when Grim died, I didn't give a fuck because like there's
me
no
too.
connection to like any like I felt no connection to him because there's no connection to the characters because like why would anybody in that group care if Grim died other than Parn, who is like susceptible to like the
he-
death?
I mean, we
he's
saw
really
I was gonna
close to
say,
Slain.
I was about to say Slain is really his like main friend in that, and we have the whole episode before Gim dies is like Slain following and being like, bro,
No.
stop fucking trying to go over there.
You guys are missing it. I understand that there are connections to it. What I'm saying is like the vibe of the group, I didn't care because like I didn't get enough of it.
But they're put together. It's not like Delicious in Dungeon or something where they're all friends and they're going because like someone's profession is adventurer. Like no one's profession is adventurer in this. They all have to do this because everyone is fucked.
I understand the logical explanation of what you are saying. What I'm saying is when you have it's like if you watch any anime, any story with like a group setting, and if you don't care, you don't get a vibe with the group, you're not going to have the enjoyment of it. Like I understand the logistics and the logic of what you're saying. What we are saying
so
is
you just didn't like the group.
Yeah, there was no vibe to it. Like that's what I'm saying.
I don't understand what you mean by vibe.
I understand exactly what he means because I felt the same way. I maybe I'll give it a shot trying to explain it. Like I did not. It did not feel like these people cared about each other at all, other than Deedlit and Parn, because Deedlit was trying to fuck him, and Parn was just kind of like, "You're cool, yeah, you're a person." Like they had so little dialogue between each other, so little scenes other than when they were standing around watching each other fight one at a time and like doing their thing, that when one of them, so when Gim died, it was like, oh, he died. That's sad. And like there was like a whole scene about being sad about it and blah 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 blah. But like, I like Pete said, I also was just sitting there like, this doesn't feel normal. This feels forced. This feels unnatural. And I guess I get where you're coming from like, oh well, it doesn't have to be, and they and the situation forces them there. But like, I don't know. My situation puts me on a team with a bunch of people. You would think they would eventually make a connection, or vice versa. They'd have something that would tear them apart in some way that would make that like
Yeah,
it almost just felt like they were dropped into something every single time that they showed up on screen, and they were all just new people to each other.
Okay, because like Gim has strong connections with. I mean, we've named 3 characters out of the 5-person group that he has strong connections with now.
And
like,
for what it's worth, by the way, you can just push Woodchuck off to the side. He is literally not there to make connections with anybody, I'm pretty sure. So with the 4 left, because like I don't count him. He's off doing rogue shit.
This is a vibe check. It's not like a logic check. You guys, what you are saying makes perfect sense, Miles. It's just, can you connect with this group? Yes or no? And I think 3 of the 5 of us were no.
See,
okay, yeah, sure.
The thing is, like, for me personally, like, I can view it from a D&D perspective. That's the reason why I enjoyed it. That's the reason why I enjoyed the episodes that I did. But from an anime perspective, I want to enjoy this show. I want to enjoy the character. The only character I actually enjoyed was Deedlit. Like, Deedlit actually seemed like she actually had some characteristics that were a little bit more than everyone else. And yes, I get that that's kind of how it feels to be a DM in a D&D campaign. And that's not exactly what I want to feel in my anime. And yes, I understand that it is extremely influential, and I get that it's a great show that pushed the boundary for fantasy shows in the future. But at the same time, looking at it from where I am, like where we are personally, and what I've seen already, like Deedlit is a very interesting character. She plays off of everyone in the group, and Parm is like, for example, when Parm was just in the ball, that was like one of the more interesting character developments for Parm, I think, in the show, where like Deedlit is trying to get Parm's attention the entire night, and he's just staring at the king because he wants to like talk to him and he wants to learn from him and all this stuff. But outside of that, like, it's very cliche in a not really fun way. And then you have the priest dude, or the sorcerer dude, excuse me, who is just, quiet. I do the thing. And Kim, stop. Like those were the two vibes I got off of him. The priest guy was there because, Parm was there. Woodchuck was there because I want to make money. And like it felt very D&D. I'm not going to act like it isn't. But again, it's not what I want.
Well, Woodchuck was there because he had to be, right? Like he got caught up in the scenario. Like it wasn't a voluntarily joined thing until like a little bit later.
Yeah.
Right? Like they free him in some sort of hijinks or whatever, and he's like a thief, and then he like tags along with them.
Yeah.
Sort of without anyone's consent or whatever, which I thought was a fun vibe, right? Like I liked the idea of like this roguish character just being like, I'm in your group now. And
Shout out Delicious in Dungeon.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess like I liked the group because I liked the mismatch. Sort of, it reminded me a bit of like the Fellowship of the Ring or whatever, right? Like Legolas says one word to Frodo the entire 3-book series, and like I don't know, people still fuck with that. So
Yeah, I think that honestly that is a really good like description, like comparison, I should say, because like in Lord of the Rings, it really is like, you have some characters where when you see them, it feels like they've known each other, and like Tolkien. Like I'm not going to compare the writers of this to Tolkien, obviously.
No.
Like that's a fool's errand.
No, we
But,
didn't have an
like,
entire episode on the tree branch, so
yeah. So I just think like like Frodo, Sam, Gandalf, when they meet up, it's like you really feel like, oh, these guys have known each other for years. They feel like old friends. But then like, you have like Aragorn and Frodo, and they never talk or anything like that. Like I'd be surprised if Gimli speaks to the majority of the Fellowship and he is like the most popular character in the trilogy besides Legolas. And they're popular because they have a good relationship with each other.
And
Like I think
Orlando
that
Bloom is really hot.
facts.
Yes.
I think that, you can have like in a party, it doesn't have to be like everybody having a relationship with each other in anime, like even just in anime, let alone D&D, yeah, that's pretty much what I got to say about it. I don't think that it has to be like a web where everybody is connected to each other when you're thinking of, and it's fine if you want more out of it. Like I understand that. I disagree with like that there wasn't stuff there kind of, but I'm not going to say you're wrong or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's like, I mean, not to say that this is the group dynamic of like Konosuba or whatever, because like two completely different shows. But even if you think about like everyone who likes Konosuba like really digs the group dynamic in that show, but like Aqua and Darkness don't really interact on their own outside of the group in like any meaningful way ever. So, I just sort of view it similar to that. Like you have, and sometimes if shows run long enough, you have like entire episodes that are based on the fact that like two characters don't actually hang out that much.
Dale
like
and Peggy Hill.
Yeah, like very different show, but Community has that, where someone will be like, we don't know what to do now that it's just the two of us in this plot line. Like we're used to interacting within the confines of this group or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That
also,
said,
by the way, Pete, to answer your question, or not to answer your question, to expand on your point about this 27 episode series, it focuses on another party after this is done. So no, probably not.
Damn.
Yeah.
I think that that's normal when it's like one or two members of a group. So like you said, Miles, good example with like Darkness and Aqua. It felt like that for me with pretty much every character, with every other character in this party. I felt almost no emotional connection other than Parn and Deedlit, maybe. And even that felt pretty distant. And then Parn and what's the mercenary or whatever her name is, she kind of wants him, but he doesn't, he's too dense to even see it.
Yeah.
Like Shyrus or something.
Even Shyrus and her berserker they had like 3 lines of dialogue between each other where they actually talked, it felt like.
He
And
doesn't talk.
Fun fact, he dies in the novels. Him living is an anime only thing.
cool. Like he doesn't do anything anyways.
That's why he ran out of dialogue.
He just exists. So that's my point. Like they don't, to me at
He
least,
scared off those elves that one time.
Why are you scaring the
Yeah.
hose?
He is scaring the hose. It goes against bro code. Totally, man. Yeah.
They-
Go
two of them were men. But they
Back
can be hoes too.
Men can be
True, you're
men
right.
can totally be hoes.
Sorry. My bad. Shout out Pride Month. I'm bisexual, by the way, guys.
Nah, I'm a hoe.
Right.
Yeah.
Fact.
You didn't think like Eto and Parn had like
Bro,
any sort
don't
of...
even get me started on Eto. Do not get me started on Eto.
I mean, okay, I'm not saying like, oh, Eto, what a great character, because what a fucking loser. But
Yeah.
like, regardless, I feel like he had a connection to Parn.
I think this is just personal opinion. Like, it's just, did you vibe? There's some characters I'm sure out there that are like widely loved. People love them, but you watch the show and you're just like, I don't get it. And this is it. We're just like, I watch this show and I'm just like, I don't get the vibe. Like I'm
I
just
guess
not fucking with them. That's all.
That makes more sense to me than I don't know. For some reason, I was taking it as like the group doesn't have interconnectivity.
No,
or whatever.
Once again, your logic makes perfect
you.
sense.
You just don't like the characters. You think the characters are bad.
When I see like in group settings, especially with like fantasy, I want them having a beer at the inn. I want them to have a conversation around a campfire. I know that does happen, but like, like more of stuff like that.
The whole is not more than the sum of its parts. In
sure.
This case.
Yeah. It's just
Okay.
Especially with like some of how some of the episodes were structured. I feel like that could have been put in place, and it just wasn't there for me.
I agree with that, especially I kind of talked about it in the opening thoughts, but like every episode, it felt like maybe 4 or 5 minutes of actual content happened, and then the rest was just filled with air or fluff to me. I don't know. Like it felt very shonen-y almost, maybe like long running shonen-y, where like you could watch the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes of an episode and like not miss anything or whatever. It's a very common critique of long running shows. To me, that's what this one felt like. Cause like I had a lot of difficulty while watching this when something would happen on screen, figuring out the scale of what had happened or whether or not it meant a lot to the plot or the things that were going on. And maybe that's why I interpreted it that way. But it felt like, if there was like 12 scenes that happened, let's say, or settings, whatever that happened in the episode, maybe 4 of them mattered in any way to the progression of the plot and the story. I don't know if others felt similar.
I don't even think, like, also with the group thing, I don't even think it just only applies to this squad. Also, the bad guys, I think it applies to as well.
Yeah.
Well, the bad guys aren't very connected. There's a lot of interfighting.
No, it's just the two of them, really.
Well, with like Priotess, like I understand, like her side is like going with Ashram, but like I never felt like the need of like why she sacrificed herself and why Ashram was like,
because he's fucking hot.
And he wants to fuck him,
and Ashram's like holding her in her arms while she's dying.
Because he wants to fuck her.
Yeah, but okay, but like it's just like the whole vibe. Like I get it, she's hot as fuck. Yeah, I get it. I would also want to
be say, B would see a dark-skinned elf woman dying.
Everybody knows this. Everybody knows
what's wrong with you.
In Ashram's case, it's like, oh, you joined my party, sure. Because I think like the first time, like
Ashram looks like the coolest Final Fantasy character that ever existed.
He is the best character by a mile. Like it's not even close. But like, I don't know, dude. Just like the whole vibe.
He comes back, by the way. He comes back, in case you were wondering.
The whole vibe. Oh, don't even get me started on coming back with Ashram. Oh my god.
Okay, no.
Fuck
Pete.
that shit.
Okay, you know what, Pete?
I know this is the one. I almost
some beef here. We're doing some beef here.
I
know what, Pistol Pete? Let me tell you something. The J Factor watched the Iron Claw last night, and he's ready to cut a promo against your bullshit.
Okay,
you were saying
your speakers though.
Okay. You were saying that the narrator was saying that he died.
Yes.
That happens in a lot of anime that you like, and you never shit on them, sir. You
That's not
never
true.
shit on them.
Name one.
Name one.
Name one where the narrator does this. And
The narrator does
where the
this?
narrator
Hunter x
tells
Hunter.
us a character dies.
Okay, you'd have to let me think on that.
Okay, because I literally cannot name one show where the narrator tells me that a character is dead.
If only there was some sort of literary device that had the word narrator in it, and then also had like another word before it, and then like it referred to how sometimes the narrator is wrong. That would be interesting. If that was like a very
Yeah, show
commonly
me.
used.
Yeah, show
Sure,
me.
it's called an unreliable narrator.
Okay, this wasn't an unreliable narrator. Like,
Was he reliable or no?
he was
He
reliable.
was supposed to be.
Yes.
Why? Like, that's the way. Why would like normally
Because
unreliable
he's a
narrators?
dungeon master talking.
Why
to
would
his
you say like
I know,
Ashen
bro?
falls from the rocks? Like that,
Because
because
he
that's
fell
what happens.
from the rocks.
Because the main characters thought he was dead.
The main character's not the narrator. That's the difference. The
Why
narrator.
would the
is-
narrator? Why would the
I
narrator?
don't under.
Why would the narrator just be like, and Ashford was alive?
Well,
Yeah,
no,
you
don't
just
say that he's alive.
realized
Say
it.
what happened in that scene. That's
Yeah,
all I'm asking.
he thought
He
he died.
survived. He
If a narrator
survived,
tells
bro.
me something, why would I not believe it? Unless there's like, this is Higurashi, it's in red text, be like, the narrator's
Didn't
lying.
Wanker or whatever his name is like resurrect him? Didn't he say something about I pulled you from the underworld or some shit like that? I could have
I don't
sworn.
know.
Oh yeah, that actually might have happened.
I think
That's
Log-
crazy.
I think
I can't be the only one where if
whatever.
a narrator tells me something and then it's not true, you'd be like,
No,
why would the
I-
narrator?
I would
you
never
lied
care
to
about
me,
that.
narrator.
Yeah, why would you tell me that?
I would like that. That would increase the value of the show to
Okay,
me.
I think it's
basically
ass.
every time.
Okay, and I think it's ass, and that's just where we're drawing the line, I guess.
You're
think-
just like, why did Perfect Blue have that scene at the end? I don't understand.
That's completely
that's-
completely
if-
different. That's like a
if it's a
psychological thriller where you don't understand whose perception is like you're being viewed from. That's completely
Again,
different.
To try to translate here, if the narrator is a character in the show or someone that we don't know would be reliable,
Bro, if you don't
then
like
that
this,
makes it different.
We don't need to watch Steins Gate if we're not liking this.
But,
I
like,
watched
That's all I
Steins Gate.
gotta
The narrator doesn't lie to you in Steins Gate.
The all-knowing narrator or perceived as all-knowing narrator, like lying to you in this context.
Isn't the
is
narrator in this
frustrating.
context just Wart? Isn't Wart the narrator? I'm pretty sure they have the same VA.
Who's Wart? I
I mean, they have the
old-ass
same- I don't
man
think they're
who's
the same
like,
character,
Old-ass
though.
man who's like, Carla, I really fuck with you.
Oh,
Okay,
that
so-
the ghost, the Jedi ghost. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Here's
Okay, go
here's-
ahead, Kat. Sorry.
here's my issue with it. So we have this DM setting going on, and I think yes, it's cool that it's it's literally a dungeon, like a D&D campaign as translated into an anime. My issue with it is that you have the creative liberty to make some of these things more clear and better for a watching audience, not a D&D group. And you didn't. Because if we're going to be watching a show where there is a narrator that we think is reliable for most of the show, and then he's not reliable, that doesn't feel good.
It doesn't make
Now,
sense.
here's the thing. If we're going to compare it to Perfect Blue,
We're not.
Perfect Blue
We're
is a
not.
psychological
We're not.
Perfect Blue is a psychological horror
The ending of
that
this
is
made sense.
legitimately trying to, that the point of it is you trying to feel disoriented. It is why it's such a good show, because it's one of the main points. But this show is not that.
I don't know. To me, the narrator, if you are led to believe, you can argue how well this was communicated.
So, like,
or-
I watched Scream Queens over the weekend. There's a twist in that with the killer where she comes back after believing to be dead. Would you guys want Chanel Oberlin to be like, and we thought that she was dead, but surprise, she wasn't, right at the end of the last episode?
I have no idea what
I
we're talking
don't know
about right
what
now.
the point you're trying to
But
get.
it's like the same. Do you want this? Do you want a narrator to spoil a plot twist for you?
You don't have to say if he's alive or dead. You could just say, because the whole time
It's
the narrator.
called dramatic.
No, it's not. No,
tension.
the narrator does recaps at the end of every episode. He just recaps what's happening at the end of it every single time. So in this one, he recaps what happens and he says that a character is dead. Why would I not believe that?
How would you word that in such a way to have people believe that he was dead without saying?
You could just say, and Ashram fell from the rocks to whatever. I'm not like, this is not my job.
Okay. But then that wording would lead you to believe that he wasn't dead.
But they don't specifically, the difference is in this narration, they specifically say he dies. That's the
Good.
difference. It's not like he came back from the dead and was resurrected. If he was like resurrected or something with magic, that'd be completely different because then he was dead and got resurrected. He just never died. Also, I don't give a fuck like about this scene like at all. This is like the last thing of like my list of things I don't like. I just thought it was
I guess
stupid.
if you want people to believe that he's dead, you should say he's dead.
I don't think you should.
This is like them
You should
saying
tell me that.
Anakin
Don't tell me
Skywalker.
that.
They say Anakin Skywalker is dead in Star Wars.
That's bad.
But
It's one character talking to another character,
I
not
feel like
a narrator.
yeah,
I don't know. I'm taking crazy pills. This is insane.
This is mind blowing to
It's
me
not.
because like I can't fathom.
I need to visit Irabu's office.
No, like
yeah, me too.
No, like one character talking to another character about a death and being incorrect. Totally logical. If the narrator previously was implied or shown to be wrong in some way or unreliable or biased or in any way
But he's just
not
recapping
reliable.
Party
What they
knows.
hear-
No, he's not recapping. If he was recapping, he would say he fell from the rocks, not that he
They
died.
think he is dead.
The
They think
narrator
he died.
tells us that he dies. Now, it doesn't think he dies. He tells us that he's dead.
If
tells
he
us that he's
says,
dead.
if the narrator says the characters think that he
Nope,
died,
that's not what he says.
I understand. Because what they wrote was good, as
It's
opposed to
bad.
what you're suggesting, which is bad writing.
It's terrible
Like,
writing
No,
what they did.
it's not bad writing.
If you guys think,
This is
that
bad.
would be good writing for them to say
is
the
fucking
narrator say
ass.
it, leave a comment down
could say-
below. and
Yeah,
click
yeah,
the bell.
But they
okay,
could, in my opinion, what they could have done differently, and instead, and like you said, it would be bad writing for them to be like, "Oh, they think he fell to his head." Like, no shit, that's not what we're saying at all. We're just saying that if he this entire time has just described what's been happening, which he's done for the good guys and the bad guys, by the way, like what's been going on the screen. If they want to hide that he is still alive, they could just either one, not acknowledge it, two,
That'd be
say he
weird.
fell.
Yeah.
Or something that happened or got shoved off the ledge or whatever. And then cool, if you want to big brain it and be like, oh, they didn't say he died, then cool. All right. Then you were smart enough to catch on to that. And then there you go. But it wouldn't completely be wrong. He wasn't lying. He wasn't incorrect. And then like versus like he is in this case.
You're not. If you are lying, you are not incorrect. By the way, you're lying. Those are different concepts. Like
in this context, I don't think it, because if a character is incorrect, that's one thing. I agree. They're not lying. They're thinking incorrectly or they don't know. But
yes.
this narrator was proven to be an all-knowing, or at this point was established as an all-knowing recap.
Yes.
Here's what it is for the player, or
Correct.
for the not the player, the viewer.
Yeah.
Yes.
To be able to catch up on what just happened. Like the next time on Dragon Ball Z, like literally that.
Yes.
If that guy lied to you, how mad would that would be bad, because then you could never trust anything he'd ever say again, for one, which is not the intention of it. It is not the intention of that.
They,
And
they know that there's going to be 2 episodes left. Who cares if you trust him anymore or not? Like, I don't know. The way that you're talking, like, is all of y'all's favorite like line of narrator text somehow Palpatine return?
No, it's just
like.
I legit don't understand how you can
fucking-
recap every episode and tell us exactly what happens. And then this episode's like, oh, just kidding. This only for this specific episode, I'm going to do something different.
Because they wanted to hide something.
You
for
could
the
just
first time.
recap what happened. You don't have to say that he's dead or alive or anything. You could just say what happened, like they've done.
That gives away the plot twist. You would
No,
know.
it doesn't.
It's not even a plot twist. He's
it
alive
really fucking
2 minutes
doesn't.
into the next fucking episode.
If you're watching it week to week or whatever, though, right? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I wouldn't come into that.
we're
'Cause I wouldn't think
not.
about it.
Bro.
I wouldn't think for more than 2 seconds about them saying, oh, this guy, and then this guy fell to his impending doom. If you
Like,
said
I
something
just
like
want to,
that,
I
there you
just
go.
want to point out that Pete, you called before you said, why did the narrator say he died when he clearly didn't die?
Yeah, I'm stating yes. I mean, it's obvious that the fucking elf took the blood of the force. Of course, he's not fucking dead. I'm saying, why did the narrator say it? I'm not. Everybody knew he was alive. That's not the issue of him being alive. Isn't the issue? It's the narrator saying what they said. And
so the issue isn't the narrator saying what he said.
Fuck, I don't give a shit about the scene at all. This is like 97th on the list of things I don't like about this story. Like, it happened for 2 seconds. Ashram's alive. 2 minutes later to the next episode, and everyone knew he was alive. Like, it's fine.
One of the.
I just think it's stupid. I don't care.
Can we move on from this?
Yes,
I do have another
please.
No, we cannot. Actually, I'm putting my moderator foot down. Keep going, Kat.
No, absolutely not. I don't want to be gaslit by Miles and Jay anymore.
They're not even gaslighting. They're just saying their side.
No,
I'm just trying to explain my side, and you guys are just so stubborn and won't listen.
I listened to what you said.
You did not for a second.
But the issue that I think I had the biggest issue with this show was the animation. I agree that the actual settings and the characters were drawn amazing, and I get that this was not the show to be talking about Sakuga and things with, but there's just some, like, the choreography of, like, the drawings are kind of immersion breaking for me. It's like one of the main references that I can go towards is the dragon episode where the dragon is just, like, not moving and it is coming down closer to the camera, and it just does that, and it looks like I'm looking at a slideshow, like a very quick slideshow, to be fair, but it looks like I'm looking at a slideshow. I'm not like, the animation just kind of took me out of it.
It basically looks like everything that's animated at the time. I don't know what to tell you, honestly.
Yeah, at that period of time, right? Like, which is just,
like,
I mean, we're so
I understand
nowadays.
exactly. I understand not liking it, like, or thinking it looks clunky compared to stuff nowadays, but, like, in context, it looks like it's animated like everything at the time, and that means it looks better than everything at the time because it has, like, beautiful art at the same time. Whereas you'd have, like, super weird off-model shit and, like, basic art and a lot of other stuff.
Oh god, the elf ears. Oh my god, they were so bad in this. They changed sizes from frame to frame sometimes. Like,
it's because it's all hand drawn, right? Like, you can't, because, like, now you can just zoom or whatever, and even a few years from when this got made, you could start using, because, like, that trend of animating things like, and I'm not saying it's good, like, it is bad. It takes you out. Like, there's a scene where the redhead is riding a horse and they just literally move, like, the cell she is on up and down, like, and over on the background, and, like,
there was, like, a shaking earthquake or something that happened at one point. You can tell they're just, like, moving the page up and down like that. It's pretty great.
And the ears thing, like, again, like, I've never noticed it so significantly. And I guess I don't watch a lot of fantasy anime from the 90s, so I can't say that this was better or worse than the other times elves have been done or whatever. But, like, it's not like just talking about, like, oh, the ears went from being, like, this long to, like, this long. It's like they'd go from being this long to, like, that long, like almost shoulder width in certain, like, scene changes.
Her
and it's
shoulder
just
pads were her ears.
Yeah, like literally the same length almost. Like, and it was just like, what? Like, come on, quality control in any way. Like, it just looked bad. And, like, again, I get it. Different time, cool. I don't care. Like, Babe Ruth still hit a ton of home runs in a really shitty time in baseball. I mean, like, like.
I guess I just wouldn't be surprised if this was one of the better looking shows that was, like, airing in 1990. I don't know.
I can see.
Anime wasn't good before 2011 anyways, right?
I agree.
Yeah. There you go.
I just want to say this is one of the things with my complaints with it, where I thought this show actually had, like, really good animations at some points, like really good. Like, some of the movements that they had with, like, the horses, while they were writing, I thought was like really well animated. And then like you said, sometimes they do like I know in like Dragon Ball Z, they'll like do the thing where they're like fight, and then they'll like go across each other, and it's like a flashing light, and then the fight's over. That's kind of like what it felt too, where it's just like scene, pause. All right, now we're gonna cross over, and someone's gonna fall down. So I get that for sure, but it was a little pick and choosy, I would say, for animation.
That's a good way to put it too. Like its peaks were really high, but its valleys were extremely low, and I felt like its valleys were much lower than the peaks were, which was frustrating because like the peaks were really good. Like everyone else said, like the background art in the show was really really good almost throughout the entire time. The character designs, they were very basic, but they were cool.
I loved them.
I actually
cool
really
enough.
liked
Including
the character
Ganondorf.
design.
Yeah, Ganondorf was sick.
Ganondorf.
Yeah.
Predates Ganondorf too.
Yeah.
You think they stole it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was true.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if Ganondorf was inspired by that.
It also just might be like the concept of like
It's just a giant dark elf, right?
like a
He's not
desert
an elf,
living
he's a human.
kind of guy.
Mm.
Well, Ganon's
you know,
an elf, is he not? Or
He's
he
a
has
Gerudo.
pointy-
He does have pointy ears, but everyone has
Everybody
pointy
in
ears.
Zelda has
Yeah,
pointy ears. Yeah,
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
except for the Zora who don't have ears.
they're fish people.
Yes,
Goron don't have ears either. They're
true. They're rock people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, now that I think about it, Deku don't have ears either, and they're tree people.
Yes, but Kokiri do. So depending on which timeline you're playing in.
Gokiri's nuts. Got him.
Ooh.
Yeah, got him. Great one. But yeah, I could see the inspiration aspect too, but it also might just be like every pop song sounds the same. It's like, well, it's because pop relies on like the same 4 chords, generally speaking. Like one of those videos where it's like clearly these songs didn't inspire each other, but you can make them sound the same by just playing them on the same acoustic guitar or whatever. I do think that was one of the cooler character designs though. Like again, overall, very good character designs. Even the plain ones were pretty good too, I think, which is pretty cool. There's a positive thing about that show. There we go. The dub. What do we think? I think most of us watched dubbed, right?
The double stuff.
I'll go last.
I'll go last because I thought some of the characters were like kind of funny, but it was really bad.
I watched the sub for everything but like the last 2 episodes, and I didn't think it was like honestly. Again, I mean, I hate to just say like, but it was the 90s, like,
But
it was the 90s.
was-
As far as dubs go, it was the 90s. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
A lot of dubs are pretty trash from back then.
I want to clarify this. A lot of my complaints about this show are minimized because I understand from the time period they're from. So take what I say with not necessarily with a grain of salt, but less serious. As like if this was made in like 2015, this would be much lower. Well,
Yes.
maybe. But the thing is that this show is like one of the things about the show is just that it's really good for the time it's coming out, and I can't fault it for that. But the dub, it's fucking terrible.
I would like to. Sorry, go ahead.
Like I can't. So one of the things that I do because I have been looking into trying to get into voice acting a little bit, at least at a hobby standpoint. But like one of the things that I do is like when I'm listening to different characters' voices, I'm trying to visualize their mouths. And like during the fight between the 2 kings, like the Ganondorf and the Gandalf the White with a sword, they like I could hear them yelling, and I could just hear them going, whoa, 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 just the entire time, and it just I busted out laughing in the middle of work because I couldn't take that scene seriously because of I watched most of it dubbed until the last 3 episodes. And the last 3 episodes I actually enjoyed a little bit more than the rest just because the dub was absolute ass.
I just wanted to before we continue with the dub, like I almost kind of want to counter a point you made in yours that, or in your point about the criticisms is like, oh, if this was released more recently, I'd be like less critical of it, or maybe like
I'd be
you kind
more
of said
critical of it.
more. You said more and less. I think in a different way, like about different things. I think, but like to me, I think the big core issue of this show is if this was modernized, I would still not like this show very much because I'd be bored as shit during the during the like watching the show, even with modern graphics, modern animation, modern voice acting, whatever. I I thought that this show was criminally boring in terms of like what was going on and how much context you were given to what was going on in each scene and why characters' motivations were the way they were and anything like I felt very frustrated just trying to watch this and piece it together. I don't know if people felt the same. So I guess my point being like the modernization aspect wouldn't help. It would almost make it like significantly like super much worse to me.
Yeah, I guess I didn't have an issue figuring stuff out, but then like also I know what like the Rod of Domination is, right? Like it's a D&D item, and like
Yeah.
I
so
don't know.
I don't know how much I can piece together, but it's like like to me it's like okay, like he attacks the goblins and then the goblins attack the town and then they try to get him out of the town, and so he has to like leave to go on this adventure, and then he gets like caught up in like bigger and bigger plot lines as like time goes on. And like I had an easy enough time following all of that. Like they don't spend a ton of time flushing anything out. It's very whirlwindy, but like I also don't mind that. Like it doesn't go super deep into world building. It's all stuff that you need to like piece together through watching it, through the intro, which explains the setting to you. Like I think it's more of a what's interesting is like you said, like if it was modernized, I think if it was modernized, we would get a lot more time explaining those things, because wanting to go deep, like deep into world building like that is sort of like a modern fantasy phenomena, like currently. Like it used to not do that, and now it does. So like like I just read through or listened to the Wheel of Time series, which is 13 books that were written over the course of like a decade and a half. And it was really interesting to see how it changed from like book one, where things just sort of happen like they do in this. Like big fights happen and you get caught up and there's not a ton of explanation. And to the end, and admittedly authors switch, but this was happening before that happens, where you get more detail on the world and everything. And it's just because of the difference between a fantasy story being written in the 80s versus a fantasy story being written in 2000 2010 or whatever is like heavy world building is super popular. So like I wonder if, and like hard world building, I guess, like here are the physics of this world or whatever. And so like I wonder if this was remade for whatever, because this is insanely popular. Apparently, there's like 70 series and a bunch of video games and a bunch of manga, and there's a cooking with the characters from Lodoss series. Like it's the Emiya family. So I mean, I've never heard anyone say this, but maybe like older weebs or whatever, like we're super into this, or maybe it kicks ass in Japan. I don't know, but. Yeah, I wonder how that would be modernized. You know what I mean? Like, would they expand the writing aspects of it too? Because like writing things change over time as well.
Oh
Yeah.
I genuinely like with that idea. I think if they did actually redo it, I might actually be uh pretty interested in a modernized version of this show, because you did make some good points about like more hard world building and more time spent in the setting. Because I think personally, well, it's the same reason why I like Mushoku Tensei and Shield Hero. The worlds are really interesting, but
Yo, you like Shield Hero?
I liked Shield.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Good save.
Hey now, don't make the only black person on the show be racist. So
not this month.
Did you just hurt yourself? Like scowling, Miles? Like
yeah.
I wasn't scouting. I was confused because it's not February.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was the joke.
I realized that was the joke. I do.
The show isn't like good enough for like. I get you guys. Like I genuinely do. Like it's fine. At best. That's.
I think it's bad personally. I think it's bad world building, even for the time. Because, like you said, well, when did Lord of the Rings books come? I know nothing about that series, so please.
Yeah. Well, okay.
When were
Okay.
they written? Because there's definitely world building in the books. I'm sure more than what was done in the movies, even.
Well, so the world building in like the Lord of the Rings, like Tolkien wrote an anthology that was like the world building of the book separately in like the form of like a poem almost / like the Bible of that world. I don't know. I don't think you can compare
they're not
anything
comparable.
to
That's
they're
no.
yeah,
I understand it's not comparable. But I guess that's my point though. Is that's like it's not like it was unprecedented. Like I don't know. Just tell me like a little bit about Parnes Village or where he's coming from. Not village, I guess like city because they're all like cities with castles and stuff. But like, what are his motivations beyond just I want to save my city, I want to save the world? You know, like
he wants to be like his dad. He said that like the whole first 4 episodes.
He wants to be a knight like his daddy,
which is like the stereotypical thing, which is fine. Like again, I get that.
Was it?
To want to like follow in your father's footsteps
in 1980 whatever, like was that the stereotypical fantasy protagonist reasoning?
This is like Seinfeld isn't funny type stuff.
Yeah. Every pop band sounds like the Beatles. Like
I don't think it's a fantasy thing. I think it's just the following in your father's footsteps.
Well, yeah, sure.
That's my point. Like that, and that's good. So that's a good point, Jay. I kind of honestly forgot about that because I struggled to connect with them. But like, so give them more flavor to that, or I just
don't get. Some of the characters are paper thin. Don't get me wrong. Like Ato, you're not going to see me defending him. Trust me.
No,
Yeah,
but I think that I don't know.
I think he's fleshed out. I just think he sucks. Sometimes you flesh out a character and they still suck. Like I guess I would say more than the world building, like characters being more 3-dimensional would be what I would be looking for. Because like I think the world building is like pretty cool. You know, like what these kingdoms are. You know what these like forces pulling the string behind the kingdoms are. You know you're on this like cursed land because these war that these 2 goddesses had, and someone's like trying to like harvest the power of the goddess, and you like need to like take immortal life from an elf to do this, and yada yada yada. Like that's all cool and adds to the world. But as you were saying, like you know, if you have a really fleshed out world but a bunch of 2-dimensional characters in it, it's sort of irrelevant how fleshed out the world is, one way or the other. And you miss things, right? You've missed parts of the world building because you do not like the characters. So like that is bad. It's bad that happened.
I don't know. I clearly I probably wasn't in a great mental state watching this either, to be fair to the show. But I also just feel like I missed more, probably a little bit. I feel like I missed more than I would think I would have still. You know, like there were a lot of things that if I was more invested or interested in what was happening, I would have maybe put that extra brain cell towards thinking about it or adding some of my own context or creativity or thoughts or whatever to it, which this show did not make me want to do at all while I was watching it. Sorry, Pete, we cut you off like 15 minutes ago. What was your thought on the dub?
I'm just I'll keep it simple. Watch the sub. That's all I'll say.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, actually.
I think in my experience, the dub actually helped because I got through the show in a faster manner. But the sub is watch it sub.
Gim's Japanese voice actor is the guy who does all the voice acting for Morgan Freeman in Japanese. Fun fact.
That's such a funny little connection to make or have. That's cool.
Honestly, Gim is probably my favorite character out of this. Actually, behind Deedlit.
Yeah.
It's literally a Pokemon name. It's terrible. All right.
So my girlfriend was calling her Diglett the whole time.
Yeah. I didn't learn like any of their names until the final episode or so, or like the final like maybe third of the show. I was finally like, oh yeah, like I knew who the characters were. I could describe them to you, but I was just like, they would say the name and it would just go over my head until eventually I finally was like, oh yeah, Deedlit is the elf, the hot elf, and that. Well, I guess they were both kind of hot. But yeah, I don't know. I guess let's move on to closing thoughts. We're approaching like an hour or so. So, Miles, why don't you give me your closing thoughts and your final score for the Record of Lodoss War OVA?
Yeah, so me being maybe with Jay the highest on this with the score that I'm about to give this is definitely going to set the tone. Um, for what the possible peak of the show is as far as our overall rating goes. I've been on the defensive, and that's because we're talking to each other. Mind you, I don't think the show is great or anything. I had a good time because I really liked this sort of setting, and I sort of liked the action, and I liked the connections I can make with other fantasy works, mostly tabletop RPGs, but some other stuff. Like the fact that the chromatic dragons were evil and the metallic dragons were good is just like a fun little nod that like I connected in my head. So, if you like a D&D setting and you like some references and stuff, I genuinely think this is worth a watch. Some of the characters are pretty good. Some of them are not, but like Deedlit is like, I don't know, if I was a weeb in 1990, I'd be like, whew.
You'd buy her body pillow.
Yeah. Same brain cell.
But unfortunately, the show, anyone watching it now is watching it in a post-Fryren world, and
still can't pronounce it right, can you?
I intentionally pronounce it wrong.
Okay.
I do. It's Freerin, which is stupid and not how it's spelled.
Blame Germany.
Sure, I will. And the things build upon each other and get better. So if you're not going to appreciate, or if you're not, I don't want to make this sound accusatory. Like, if you're not someone who's going to appreciate like the building blocks that you can see that this is, right? Like how now and then here and there had like building blocks for isekai or whatever, but I did not give a fuck. Like, if it's that sort of thing, don't watch this. But I think it's fun, and especially if you like older retro anime stuff. I was jokingly around earlier saying like anime is better when it's bad, and like I do kind of believe that. Like I think there's a certain charm to this like very clearly handcrafted, budget constrained, have to move this thing up and down to like make it look like a horse. Like I enjoy that. I get some people might not like that. Anyways, this is a 7 for me. And I suspect that'll potentially peak our ratings, and it's like a 7 something on Mal, so we're gonna be a little bit lower.
I think we might be a little bit on the lower end until Pete gives it a 10. But
obviously,
but first we have to get Kat's score. Kat, what have you got?
Oh, okay. So this show has unironically the best depiction of a dwarf liking another race. That is. Probably,
I don't understand what you mean by that. So
dwarves are very racist.
Yeah, dwarves tend to, in like older high fantasy, are like very.
Oh yeah, like fucking.
Oh, like literally, like just tolerating them or thinking that they're a decent person. Okay, like they're not just like, okay.
Legitimately,
sorry. Now I get it.
Dwarves are assholes, and most of the races. Sinchi is a fucking outlier, but like this show has one of my favorite depictions of that. Deedlit is also a great character. Animation, very 1980s, 1990s. That is not a good thing for me. The characters, other than my two favorites, are just kind of yeet into the trash can. Like I don't like most of them, and the drawings up there are great, but that's about it. I have a lot more issues with the way that the characters like are drawn without much, I would say, like heavy expression depending on the emotion that should be portrayed. That's just a me thing personally, but I mean, there's just like there's a lot of peeves that kind of stack onto each other that bring this down to a 5 for me personally.
5 overall. Righty. Pete, what about you?
All right, I wrote down my thoughts. So I'm gonna start with the good. I thought the show did a fantastic job of getting me into what a fantasy world should be. I fell in love with the aesthetic. If you wanted to showcase fantasy, I would showcase this show. Like the first episode at least. Like I loved what it did. I really enjoyed the animation for the most part. There were some scenes that were whatever, but I think for the most part, for a 1990 show, this was really well animated. Also, shout out to the OST. I thought it stood out. I thought it was a really good OST. I really enjoyed it. For the negatives, I didn't like the vibe of the party at all. We talked about it earlier. I just didn't have fun with them. Like if this is an adventure, I like having fun with the group that I'm following. I just didn't get that vibe with them. I think it also plays in the part that the bad guys were so much cooler than the good guys in the show. Like, I loved evil Carla. I loved Ashram. Puritas was like, I liked her for the most part. The other evil wizard dude, I thought he was really cool. I just really liked the vibe of the bad guys more than the good guys. And yeah, it just lost the fun for me. But also,
not to tell on myself, but aren't the bad guys always cooler than the good guys?
Not always, but this was
Every show?
this is like substantial. Like at least
Okay.
like is Joker
Yeah.
cooler than Batman? Sure, but like there's still some cool things about Batman that I really like.
Okay, that's fair.
I just like in a party of 6, I really liked 1.5 of them type of thing. So, which leads me to this. I didn't like Parn as the main lead. I thought he was very cookie cutter. When he's supposed to be portrayed as like the hero, I never really got that vibe. There was like scenes in like episode 6 and 7 where like he's training and like he's getting his ass handed to, and then by the end of the series, he's the hero, which I think also just is the pacing of the show was a huge problem. If anyone's ever seen the show, oh my god, what's it called? Something Riverside or something like that, where like the
Peach Boy Riverside.
where the director purposely took the episodes out of order and took like episode 6 into episode 1. Not as bad as that in here, but I did have some issues with kind of like the structure layout. I think the background episode was like episode 2, and I felt that was a little out of place with how episode 1 ended. So stuff like that. I touched on the dub. It didn't like affect my score, but I really just did not like this dub at all. Which is also weird because I thought like Ashram's dub was like fucking incredible. So it was like hit and miss. This show to me, just not good. I'm gonna give it a 4.
4 out of 10. All right, Jay,
Wow.
what about you?
Yeah. So I think that this show is definitely better in like the first half of it. You can pretty clearly tell that the last half of it is like 2 plot lines kind of mashed together, whereas the first one was just them doing the Carla stuff. I liked the party well enough. They pretty much did what they needed to do. I wasn't really expecting, like freer in level party building or anything like that. Not saying anybody else here was, but I just didn't go in with super high expectations in general. I thought it was a pretty neat slice of anime history and how fantasy, like Western fantasy, is viewed in Japan. It's really interesting to think of all the shows that have like a direct lineage of this. Like, for every Freerin you have that is from this lineage, you also have a Goblin Slayer that is very clearly of this lineage. So I think that this is kind of like the granddaddy of most fantasy anime, I would say, for better or for worse. I enjoyed it a bit, but I was honestly pretty bored towards the end. The last 2 episodes in particular are kind of a slog. So I think overall for me, this show is by no means perfect, but I don't think it's like terrible or anything. This is a 7 for
7. Alrighty. I enjoyed Goblin Slayer more than watching this, significantly more. And I don't know. I was so bored throughout. Like Jay said, those last 2 episodes were brutal. I did not want to watch the show anymore. And I did, but I didn't really want to. Oh, what, Miles? What? Tell me.
I just realized that was me. I had just said, don't worry about it. You're fine.
Okay.
I thought he was mocking you too.
No, I was saying
seriously.
something. I was like talking. I wasn't trying to like mock it. I understand how it comes off that way because I was muted. But
I get it now. I just thought that you like it was just funny.
I'm Pat. I like Goblin Slayer.
I did. Like I enjoyed Goblin. Goblin Slayer was at least fun. Like
that's not what I was trying to do. I was just like I actually just sort of liked the last 2 episodes. So like that's what I was saying. I was just like, damn, like.
No, I couldn't care. I could not have cared less what was happening in the final 2 episodes too by the time we got there. So that probably didn't help either for me. Thank you guys for the added context on its importance in the fantasy D&D everything world, everything that I just do not give a two shits about in my personal interests, like as a consumer of media, you know. I like that was a good comparison, Miles, I think earlier, the Now and Then Here and There, whatever that show is called, comparison of the Granddaddy v Sakai versus the, like
How and
you
why?
could see
Here we go. Time to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that very interesting, like that's a good way to look at it. We had a lot of bad things to say about that
Yes,
show,
we did.
too.
Yeah,
A lot,
we
well, not all of us did.
It's our seventh lowest rated show.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Well,
it
Hey,
one of
it's
them?
about
it's
to
about to be bumped up one.
No,
It's gonna be
I don't know.
it's gonna
if
be really
it's gonna be
close.
close. It's gonna be pretty close because
It's like a 4.8
with those comments. With those comments, yeah, I'm gonna probably stick with a 4. I was thinking I was somewhere between a 3 and a 4 because, like, again, the art's cool. Some of the things are cool. It's but now with the history added to it, I mean, like, I don't know. Like,
You like history?
do we actually? Would we fuck the Mona Lisa? Like, genuinely? Like, do we like Mona Lisa, or do we think that it's a very boring painting? Like nowadays,
Would I
like,
fuck it? Or do I think it's
well,
like, because these
you
are
know,
Mona Lisa is just
In
another
the
bitch that's
Louvre
getting
or outside the
Ross.
Louvre? What's the
so that was a
setting like?
joke. That was the joke. But like, actually, though, like the Mona Lisa, boring ass painting. Cool. It's historic. Everything, right? I don't know. Another good example. How about
You
the
like playing
Parthenon?
golf.
I do like.
You don't
playing
get to
golf.
talk
Golf
about
is
what's
really
boring.
fun. No, golf
That's
is really
true.
fun once you get into it, and you should give it a try.
I would
Disc golf
never.
is infinitely better.
The Parthenon. Well, disc golf is really fun. The Parthenon, really boring. Just a bunch of pillars. Like, who cares? Versus like the Colosseum is sick,
Golf and
right?
soccer enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, isn't the Parthenon cool because like you understand the context of like this was like the temple of all temples like 2000
Yeah,
whatever
but if you
years
just
ago.
look at it, so you know with the context, it's really cool. I think it's
I get
really
you're
cool.
saying, Pat.
As someone who is
Yeah,
not
so
a
I guess what I'm
historian, you just
saying is
look at
that
it.
I would
yeah,
have sex with.
Why would
Lisa.
most people?
I
who
would
are-
fuck the
I think
Pantheon.
okay. I think that the Parthenon comparison is actually really good because this is such an older anime that most people who are watching it are going to do a little bit of footwork and look into it. If you're going to the fucking Parthenon, you should do a little bit of footwork and look into what it is instead of saying, "Ooh, cool building." You know, like if something's a cultural or historical like landmark for a medium or in real life, like it's not that thing's fault that you don't know about it. Okay, that's all I
maybe
gotta say.
no. I mean, fair, but I was bored. I don't know. Like even with the added context like that, it's cool. Like I can see connections to other fantasy stuff.
And I
Definitely not
would
for
fuck
me.
the Parthenon.
You would fuck. I
I
mean,
would
like,
have sex with Mona Lisa in the Parthenon.
Yes.
even better.
Yes,
There you go.
yes.
That's what the
That's
what the Romans wanted.
Yo,
That's what the
Trent,
Romans
clip
wanted.
that out of context.
Yeah, we'll add
Clip
that
it
to the
in-
sound.
I'm not clip that in whatever context you
What's
want.
the
I'm not
overall score, Pat?
That's a good question. We can get there by taking the number and dividing it by 5 because I can do that. We're at a 5.4 by my calculations.
Oh, it
which-
crushed Now and Then Here and There.
I know you guys were a little more critical of that one. I think did we have 6 people back then too? I think maybe
I think we
so
had
that
like
probably didn't help.
7 for that one.
Or 7, so that really hurts
I-
it too. Because like
I
I
only
feel
have
like
4 historical scores, but Kat gave it a 3. So
I have to go. I have to go back to the records.
I think
you
I
gave it a
have-
7. So you were the me of that episode.
Well,
or
again,
the
I didn't
J.
like think. Yeah, it wasn't like fantastic, but it wasn't like I wasn't sitting there like,
Oh,
oh,
it
this
was bad.
sucks.
It was bad. Don't.
That's funny
no,
because I
actually.
think it's ass.
That was I don't know.
That's
Say
great.
what you want about nothing happening in the show. There was no scene of water dripping for I forget how many seconds it was. It was like 21 seconds or something in
Yeah,
that
but on
show.
2 times speed, that's 10.5 seconds. So
That's a good point. That
that's-
honestly, it's all coming together now.
No,
Oh yeah, it's all
no,
coming together.
kidding there. But yeah, all right. I guess 5.4 is what we gave it. On Mal, it was a 7.34. So yeah, a little lower on this than we expected to be. I think I went in excited for it too. That's what I was. Maybe that part contributed to my frustration. I came in expecting it to be more just like an old fantasy show, and that would be cool. Like maybe some political drama, and didn't really feel like that to me at all. So maybe that's part of the reason why I didn't like it as much as someone else did.
We scored this the same as Elfen Lied. We scored this slightly higher than If Her Flag Breaks.
Thank God.
Uh,
This is better than Iffer Flag.
This is slightly higher than Charlotte, which I agree with.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What did I give Charlotte?
I can tell you what you gave Charlotte. You gave Charlotte a 5.
Okay.
Do you think that Charlotte's better than this, Pete?
According to my rating, yes, by 1 point.
Yeah, Pete was really liked the cocaine arc in Charlotte. Yeah.
Shit.
It's the same way my favorite arc in Code Geass is the heroin arc. So
Spoilers.
You would love the Black Butler opium arc, bro.
yo, what? Yo, man, I have to play the watcher right now.
This blew Invaders of Rock and Jima out of the water.
Shocking.
Good, as it should.
And is a slightly 0.03 lower than Bungo Stray Dogs. So that's where we are on this.
Right on.
Oh, I liked it more than Bungo. Did I? Yeah, I think I did. No, I didn't. That's
The
a
score.
lie.
I was about to say the score
You-
determined
yeah.
that was a lie.
So Pete liked it more than Bungo Stray Dogs.
I hate
I did, but I
Bungo
gave
Stray
it a
Dogs.
6. Yeah, me too. Kat liked it less. Pat liked it more, is what I have.
This is 0.4 above Pet.
Yep, that sounds right.
Or
Pete, did you really like that?
I thought the ending was dope.
ending-
But it's also been like
ending's fun.
4 years, so like I bet if I rewatch it, I'd probably think it's ass. But
No, you gave it a 7.
I give
You
it a
were-
7. Yeah, I don't know.
Ugh.
Okay.
Ugh.
I don't know.
Okay. Anyways,
We
All
all,
right,
we
let's
all have
talk
our
about-
faults.
yeah.
I
lot of
gave
them in
Pet a
this group.
7. You know, it's
That's okay. I gave this a
if
7.
that's my
you know
biggest
what I mean?
red flag, then fuck it. I'm living life good.
Your biggest red flag is it appears that you gave Orimo a 10.
That is, you should stop that.
This is my spreadsheet is more canon than the episodes are. My apologies, but
Jesus Christ.
All right. Let's do what we voted on this past week. We did a Pride LG, or I guess Pride Week, or a Pride voting session where we only nominated shows that have LGBTQIA plus themes or characters or anything along those lines. Miles, what won Pride Month for us this year?
Well, first we have to talk about what came in third for Pride Month,
Good. Yes, please do.
and that was "I Am in Love with the Villainous." In second, we had "Sarazan Mai." In third, we have
first?
First.
in first. The third thing that I'm going to say.
This happened
In-
last
in-
episode.
in-
Literally the
I-
exact same conversation,
been
word
doing
for
this.
word.
I wouldn't be
This is
surprised
crazy.
if I have done this 70% of the time.
I'm not even kidding though. You said the third thing I said, or whatever.
Yeah,
you said,
yeah,
you
well,
said
you know,
word for word, bar for bar.
I make enough mistakes that I can recover quickly.
Break.
Is Bang Bang Bravern.
fucking go, gay
so that is what we will be watching.
Woo.
There we go. All right. And
Please believe.
fair enough. So sweet. So that's what we are watching for our. I mean, we'll be recording that on June 17th. What shows are we nominating though, boys? I think we're back to a normal week, so we know what Pete's gonna nominate. What are
Yeah,
we
right.
nominating to beat Uma Musume? Miles, you got one?
Every once in a while, you need to go back to your origins, right? You need to, what worked once can work again. And that's why I'm going to nominate, which is a very acclaimed part of this franchise, a very standalone part of this franchise.
I don't trust you.
Ghost in the Shell.
A very no,
You said standalone, though.
it is a standalone part of the franchise.
Not a complex, though.
It's not a standalone complex.
go.
Yeah, no. Okay,
Yeah,
there we go.
got there.
The third thing I'm going to say is, anyways, I'm going to be nominating Mobile Suit Gundam War in the Pocket.
Ooh.
Ooh, shout out to Axel.
Shout out to a lot of people. This is supposed to be very good, and I was supposed to watch this for Secret Santa and watch the wrong Gundam series because this is like in the year 0080, and the other one is like 0080
The
8th
08th
team or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was an O and an 8 in it, so I was like, this is it. It was not.
All right. Kat, what about you?
So I am going to nominate something that is I won't say very similar. That is similar to one of the best shows coming out this season, High Speed Etoile, and one of the best shows that has come out in history, Initial D. Came out 2023. I'm nominating motherfucking Ghost.
Ghost.
MF
I
Ghost.
thought
yeah.
It's MF
MF
Ghost.
Ghost. Okay,
I
isn't
know
that
it's
a
MF Ghost.
rapper?
Miles doesn't know what motherfucking ghost means.
Oh, it's motherfucking Ghost.
It's just MF Ghost.
Yeah. it's
Okay.
MF
Is
Ghost.
the MF for motherfucking?
No,
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it.
I don't know. I still don't know.
it's mid as fuck. That's what it stands for. The A is silent.
You just don't understand racing. That's fine.
You don't. It doesn't
You don't go
matter.
fast.
I'm gonna say I thought you were gonna pick Redline or something, but here we are.
All right, Pete. What about you? What are you
It's like I
nominating?
should have picked Red Light.
Yo, Glue's back on the menu, boys. Uma Musume, Pretty Derby.
Uma Musume. I don't know why I don't have this just like pinned to my bar yet.
It's never leaving unless we have a different theme for the week.
It's also never leaving because it will never win.
It will
So
eventually.
Might as well just keep
There's only
going.
1 week where there'll be 3 people. It's automatically going to legacy point, and that's going to happen over a period of years. And I will not stop this podcast until Uma Musume wins once.
Yeah, poor Cooper will have to watch this someday. when he's
Cooper's
on
going
the
to be my
podcast.
co-host. Yeah.
Cooper's going to be the co-host because I almost certainly will die from
It's
some
gonna be like
disease.
Sauce and Boruto.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I'll be like, and for my last episode, as I have developed deer brain rot or something,
Yeah.
like the first human vector of it.
You're not-
So I was just saying,
Nokotan.
Start saying.
please say
Google
something that
shit.
can't happen. Like
Yeah, that is something that cannot happen. That is
Yeah,
only
okay,
deer
thank
can
you.
get that disease.
Cooper's gonna be like, it's a shame my father got hoof and mouth disease.
You can get hoof and mouth.
He fought in the water wars. That's why he sounds like
Yes.
Okay, Jay, what about you?
that. I'm gonna go ahead and nominate Link Click too.
Is that yours?
Like, God damn it!
Now you
All
get to
right.
vote for it.
That's why you bring
Now
a
I
backup.
will get to vote for it, which is nice. Or what'd you say, Pete?
So that's why you bring a backup in case someone
Oh,
steals
that's why
your
you bring it
shit.
back. Well, I do have a back. I didn't think anyone would nominate Link Click though. I mean, that's why I have my. I always have my plan to watch open though.
I
just in
hope,
case
okay, so
something happens.
Jay's backup has a chance of being your backup, but I kind of hope it happens.
It would be funny.
What would it be?
You won't be able to guess it by thinking about Jay, is what I will say.
It's the show I have not seen.
Yeah.
Not that would help you because you don't know what I've watched. Really. But
I know vaguely, but yeah, no, that
it was
off
one
the
that
top of my head.
it was one you enjoyed a while back, a couple years ago.
I don't think you ever finished it, though. I think it's one of those shows that you're like, maybe one day I'll finish the show. But maybe you did finish it? I don't know.
All right, well, tell me after, please. No,
Sure.
I'm going to nominate. Let's go with. I don't know if we talked about this before. I feel like I can't remember off the top of my head. 2 or 3 of the Princess Principal movies, whatever is out so far. Because
Yeah, you can do 2.
I think 2 makes sense. Yeah, because it's 4 hours or so content, right?
Well,
Or
like
less.
we only have 2 on High Dive currently. We would have to go sailing for the third one, which I guess we
all
can
right,
do.
well, that's perfect.
But
That's
like,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, so the first 2 Princess Principal movies, because let's throw
I
it
can't
back to
believe
Old
they're
Watch
still
Club.
making that.
I know there's like 5 of them, right? Something like that, and there's 3
My
of them.
understanding is they do well in Japan.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. But yeah, all right. What's Jay's backup? I'm curious now.
Your boy Kong.
Oh, that's a great show.
Chicky,
Oh,
chicky, bun, bun.
I did finish that show, Miles.
Never-
I did.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was on your list of shows that like you hadn't finished, but maybe did finish at some point, and I just couldn't.
Oh, I loved that show. I want more of it. That super cool show.
It sells well
But
in
yeah.
Japan too, so I hope one day we get season 2.
Do you remember when that aired? I think in 2021 when that aired?
2022, I
Or-
want to say.
because I feel, oh yeah, it was 2022 because I remember just walking around Anime Expo and seeing people in Kongming outfits. Like
2022.
maybe I think that was the year we went, wasn't it?
He gave a lot of those Kong Mings Omicron.
Wrong expo.
Wrong Expo. Yeah, that was
Oh,
Anime
my bad.
NYC.
My fault,
Yeah, that
my
was.
fault. There were probably
Let's
some
go,
Kong
baby.
Mings there Pete gave Omicron.
That was the
as
year
well.
before.
That was the year before. That was like
Yeah.
6
They
months
were
before.
they were into the manga. They were into the manga.
I highly
yeah.
doubt it.
Maybe. But either way, all right. Let's move along. We're killing a lot of time here. So yeah, let's wrap up our Chicago Fire podcast. Thank you guys for listening. And Pete, take it away.
Yes, if you have made this far and you want to support us, the best way to do so, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you're watching or listening to us on. If you saw the Haikyuu movie, I did episode on that recently, so go check that out. Otherwise, if you're here, next week we'll be doing the summer preview episode, so I'll be talking 45 minutes about my dear friend Nokotan and just playing that OP on a loop for close to an hour. We'll see. And then we'll talk about, I don't know, Tower of God or something. Otherwise, if you're here for a Watch Club, we will see you in 2 weeks for Bang Bravern. I think that's how you say it. Yeah. Thanks. And we'll see you
I'm
next time.
excited.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.